My mother generally needed to have a lovely little girl, yet rather she brought forth me a monstrous-looking young lady with a huge and screwy nose. To compound the situation, my mother lived in complete disavowal and persuaded herself some way or another that I was very ravishing and that I could turn into a supermodel one day. In the event that I just made enough of an effort, that is the reason she constrained me to wear cosmetics to school since I was in first grade. I can't let you know how terrible it was, particularly on the grounds that different young ladies in my group continually ridiculed that she puts on cosmetics to look prettier than us. Oh, somebody ought to tell her that it didn't work. She actually looks like Shrek. At last I had enough of being harassed. I told my mother I would rather not wear your dumb cosmetics any longer. I disdain it. Yet darling, how can you at any point go to track down a spouse in the event that you look monstrous? Don't you need to have messes with? One day she expressed that to me despite the fact that I was just 9 years of age. I think her arrangement was to cause me to feel shaky and terrible, so I would invest more energy into looking pretty. My mother's greatest fixation were magnificence expos. After all, once per month she would take me to another city, put me into a ludicrous looking outfit, and make me go in front of an audience. I can't articulate the amount I loathed those rivalries. Different moms continuously gazed at me with a face like, what is this revolting young lady doing in front of an audience? Get her off. In the meantime, my mother would shout as clearly as she could, grin more, grin more. One time in front of an audience I got asked, what makes you not the same as different young ladies? And I ought to have answered, what makes me different is that I'm terrible. However, I would have rather not humiliated my mother before different moms, so all things being equal, I said I'm presumably the as it were young lady taking part in this challenge that hasn't had a sweetheart. At this point the adjudicators generally began giggling, yet the moms of different young ladies were really outraged. They gone about as though I had considered their little girls. That is what's so dreadful about magnificence expos for kids. Every one of the mothers think their girl is the prettiest and absolute best young lady on the planet, and in the meantime they utilize each opportunity they get to waste talk the little girls of different mothers. I once even heard a mother say, did you see that young lady in the blue dress? She was so terrible. Next time she ought to wear a paper pack over her head. It was a particularly harmful climate, and I frantically needed to receive in return. Yet the more contests I lost, the harder my mother made me practice at home. On ends of the week I needed to rehearse presents and swaggering down the catwalk until my feet were sore. The main day I got time off was the point at which my mother took my younger sibling to his chess practice. She truly believed him should turn into a chess grandmaster one day, yet at whatever point my sibling played, my mother would remain behind him and murmur into his ears what his best course of action ought to be. In the event that my sibling didn't follow my mother's chess counsel, she would squeeze his arm, and more terrible, my mother had no clue about how to play chess, so as a result of her obstruction, my sibling lost every one of his games, and it's no big surprise that he developed a ton of outrage regarding time for his 12th birthday. My sibling truly needed his box, yet when my mother gifted him another chessboard he had a total implosion and tossed the board with full power at my mother's brow. In addition to the fact that she got taken out, however, she likewise got a major scar in her temple that you can in any case see today. After that, she at no point ever constrained my sibling to play chess in the future. Sadly, I didn't have the guts to confront my mother and her, or rather I recently kept losing magnificence events, and over the long haul she reached the resolution that it was my shortcoming. I wasn't winning since I was too fat. Today you will begin your eating regimen and just eat 2 apples. You need to get thin. Okay mother, I will get more fit for you, yet you likewise need to guarantee me something in the event that I ought to get thin, nevertheless not win any excellence expos. Then at that point, kindly let me find another leisure activity. Don't stress darling, you will win, it's ensured. Well, think about what I several pounds of weight and went to another event. The appointed authorities had known me for quite a long time and seen me lose each and every challenge, so out of pity they chose to allow me to win for once. Obviously I realized I didn't have the right to win since I was the ugliest of all contenders. However, I actually valued their good thought regardless. Sadly, my mother didn't get it. She accepted that I had won the challenge in view of the eating regimen she had placed me on. She said, assuming you lose some more weight you will end up being the following enormous supermodel. I guarantee you. Subsequently she disallowed me from eating anything throughout the ends of the week. Mother, you can't remove my food, you are starving me. Starving you? I could never do that. It's called fasting. Religions have worked on fasting for centuries. Fortunately, I realized better children require loads of food and supplements to grow, so I requested that my sibling bring me food around evening time, and in secret. In the meantime, my mother posted many photographs of me winning that one Excellent show on Instagram consistently with the subtitle Prettiest Young Lady on the Planet, yet sadly my schoolmates learned about it and ridiculed me for it again. You probably paid off the adjudicators to win that magnificence challenge. Don't figure you can fool us into accepting you are prettier than us. You likely figure I ought to have basically would pass on any more excellent shows, yet I would have rather not frustrated my mother. She was working in a call play selling live coverage, and consistently she got back home from work and let me know goodness I disdain my occupation. Such a lot of I need to commit suicide. In the meantime you darling, you pushes me along. One day you will end up being a renowned model. Well, I maintained that my mother should be blissful, so I kept on doing anything she was expecting of me. However, on my 16th birthday celebration she accomplished something really nauseating. She gave me a collapsed paper and said, "Here is your birthday present, darling." I unfurled it and read 3 words: free nose work. You should mess with me. No, I'm not. You generally let me know that you assume you are terrible, so we should change that, yet I'm fine with being monstrous. I won't ever seem to be a model, and that is not a problem, darling. I think you as of now look lovely, yet why not make you significantly prettier? The next weeks my mother invested all her free energy showing me big names who had undergone surgery to be more appealing. She was generally dazzled by Bella Hadid, who went from suboptimal hoping to being really ravishing and hot. She proceeded with appealing ladies get more cash flow, track down better spouses, and are for the most part treated better by society. Why would it be a good idea for you set up with having a major revolting nose when you can transform it? Did my mother simply say I had a major monstrous nose before she had consistently demanded that I was the prettiest young lady on the planet? So this remark truly hurt and caused me to feel unreliable, yet it deteriorates. My mother requested that our neighbor's child come over, and keeping in mind that covertly recording him she asked, "Do you find my girl alluring?" Gracious, I don't have a clue about her. Well, be straightforward. We both realize she isn't pretty, yet on a scale from 1 to 10, how might you rate her? Well, to be straightforward, I think she is a 1. Later my mother showed me the video, and when I heard that the kid thought I was a 1 out of 10, I began crying. My mother was dead set on causing me to feel shaky, and her arrangement was working. In the meantime I'm likewise a receptive individual, so I requested myself what the disadvantage from getting plastic medical procedure was. Furthermore, truly the main pessimistic viewpoint I could imagine was that my colleagues would doubtlessly ridicule me, assuming that they saw I had found a nose line of work, particularly in light of the fact that I was still just a young person. Well, my mother continued to remind me for a couple of additional weeks exactly the way in which terrible I was, until I surrendered and found a nose line of work very much like she needed anyway. Just the vast majority of individuals who find a nose line of work are happy with the outcomes. This implies that 20% have an awful result. I really intend what, assuming something turned out badly, and I turned out significantly uglier than before. Well, multi-week after the activity I could remove the wrap, and wow, my nose seemed to be that of a supermodel. It was insane. I wasn't simply less revolting, yet I was one of the lovely young ladies. Now I raced to my mother and said, "Thank you kindly, it looks astounding." My mother was similarly, however, dazzled as I might have been, and she persuaded me that very day to likewise get cheek inserts to make my cheeks look more full. It's odd, growing up I generally figured I didn't mind at all that I was terrible, yet now that I got an opportunity to make something happen and turn out to be truly gorgeous, my appearance turned into all I thought often about when I returned to school with my ideal nose. The wide range of various young ladies were desirous and garbage. Talk to me. Do you truly have such low confidence that you really want plastic medical procedure? How pitiful. Goodness, actually so, as per your rationale, anybody who needs to change their body has low confidence. What might be said about individuals who need to get thinner? Do you feel that they are woeful too? You see, to me plastic medical procedure has become simply one more type of personal growth. Certain individuals are conceived pretty by sheer karma, and this is my approach to night out the battleground. Likewise my cohorts continue to call me phony and plastic, so in a spirit of meanness I accomplished considerably more on my body. Boob work, cheek insert, stomach fold. Piece by piece I transformed into an amazingly hot young lady. Yet while it further developed my mental self-portrait, it's not difficult to get dependent on finding another thing to change, particularly in the event that your mother pays for all that and tensions you into accomplishing increasingly more. She As of late, let me know you realize that I got 60,000 bucks in the red to get you all that medical procedure right. You ought to begin looking for a person who can take care of that, or, in all likelihood, I'm in a bad way since I need to pay 12 yearly interest on this obligation. Better believe it, I'm still just 17, and my mother maintains that me should entice rich folks to bring in cash. I surmise everything accompanies its cost in the end. I don't know whether upgrading my body made me a more joyful individual. Right, currently I'm continuously contrasting myself with different young ladies, and at whatever point I'm not the prettiest young lady in the room, I quickly regret myself.